14 of the college football season. My name is Mike Browning. I'm the host of the College Football Road Trip at CFBRoadTrip.com. It is conference championship weekend. Everything's on the line for these champions. It's going to determine who's going to make it to the playoffs. Either everything's going to be straightforward if the favorites win, but if things start to unravel, there could be a lot of craziness determining who's going to be in the playoffs. So with all that said, let's jump into this week's picks. We're going to start off with our Friday night games. Our first conference matchup is the Conference USA Championship. We have North Texas traveling to UTSA. UTSA has been the cream of the crop in Conference USA all year long. They do not have any conference losses. North Texas does have a couple losses in conference play during the year. They've struggled in a couple other games that they ended up pulling off at the end. Because of both of those scenarios and the fact that UTSA has just been rolling through the conference, I think it's going to happen again in the championship game this weekend. I have UTSA winning over North Texas in the Conference USA Championship. Our next championship game on Friday night is the Pac-12 Championship. We have number 11 Utah playing number 4 USC in Las Vegas. USC has moved their way up to number 4. They're in the playoffs. If they win this game, they're obviously going to make the semifinals. Utah has something to say about that. Utah gave USC their one loss on the season. The question is, will USC avenge that loss? I think USC has a lot to play for. Their offense is humming along. Their defense can do just enough to keep Utah at bay. I have USC winning against Utah in the Pac-12 Championship on Friday night. Let's move on to our Saturday games now. We're going to start off with the MAC. The MAC is pitting Toledo against Ohio. They're playing in Detroit. Ohio, just like UTSA and Conference USA, has been rolling through the competition in the MAC. They do not have any conference losses on the season. Toledo does have a loss or two in their conference play. Because of that, I think Ohio is just going to keep things rolling as well. I have Ohio winning against Toledo in Detroit for the MAC championship. Our next Saturday matchup, we have Coastal Carolina playing Troy in the Sun Belt Championship game. At the beginning of the year, I thought Coastal Carolina and App State would be competing for their division title. Coastal Carolina ended up sliding in with an embarrassing loss to James Madison last week, but they're still in the championship game. On the other side, you had Troy and South Alabama going down to the wire. Troy ended up with that division championship. Troy has all the momentum on their side. Coastal Carolina, after their loss last week, is kind of sliding a little bit. Because of that, I'm going to say Troy is going to be able to keep the momentum going. I have Troy winning at home over Coastal Carolina for the Sun Belt Championship. Next, let's move over to the Mountain West Championship. This has Fresno State traveling to Boise State. Boise State, as I mentioned over the past couple of weeks, they have been on a roll since they have changed coaches and quarterbacks earlier in the year. Fresno State has also looked really good these past few weeks after struggling at the beginning of the year. Early in the year, Boise State does have a win over Fresno State. I think being the home team in this one, having more momentum on their side, they're going to be able to beat them again for the second time this season. I have Boise State winning at home over Fresno State for the Mountain West Championship. Our next championship game is the Big Ten championship game being played at Indianapolis. In this one, we have Purdue taking on number 2 Michigan. Michigan is coming off the absolutely huge win over Ohio State on the road last week, dominating the second half to pull away from the Buckeyes. On the other side, you have Purdue with a big win over Indiana to find a way into this championship game in a much weaker Big Ten West division. Michigan knows that they have to win this game to make it to the playoffs for the second straight year. I think because they know what's on the line and what it takes to make it to the playoffs, that they're going to dominate this game. I have Michigan winning over Purdue in the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis. Our next matchup is a ranked versus ranked matchup for the American Conference Championship game. We have 22nd ranked UCF against number 18 Tulane. Cincinnati, Tulane was a big game last week. Tulane found a way to pull it off in the end to make it into this championship game. UCF, on the other hand, has been playing really well over the past few weeks. Based on how Tulane has kind of struggled over the last couple weeks, yes, they won the game, but they had to come back from behind to do it. UCF, on the other hand, has been looking really good over the past few weeks. I think UCF has the edge in this one. I'm going to give them the victory. I have 22nd ranked UCF winning on the road at 18th ranked Tulane for the American Conference Championship. Next, let's head to the ACC Championship game that's going to be played in Charlotte. We have 9th ranked Clemson against 23rd ranked North Carolina. And North Carolina has been falling the past couple weeks. They've struggled along the way. Clemson does have a loss. Over the past couple weeks, they haven't looked great, but they've done enough to win their division. The question is, which one of these is going to find the way to win this game? Clemson still has a little bit to play for. They would need a lot to happen to be able to bounce into the playoffs, but obviously they have to win this game first. And so because of that, I'm going to give Clemson the edge. 9th ranked Clemson will win over 23rd ranked North Carolina in an ACC championship game. Next, let's head to the SEC championship game being played in Atlanta. 14th ranked LSU against 1st ranked Georgia. LSU is coming off their big loss to Texas A&M last week. That has essentially taken them totally out of the playoffs. Even if they win this game, there's no way they're going to jump from 14 up to 4. On the other side, you have Georgia, number 1 ranked team in the country. The big question is, what happens if LSU pulls off the upset here? Does Georgia fall out of the top 4? Do they still make it in? If they do fall out, who's going to come back into their place? Maybe Ohio State, but that would be a big jump over Georgia. The thing is I don't think it's going to matter. I think Georgia has played strong all year. They've looked good the last couple of weeks as well. LSU coming off that big loss to Texas A&M. Will they continue to struggle this week? I think they will. Our 1st ranked Georgia winning over 14th ranked LSU in the SEC championship game. And our final conference championship game of the week comes out of the Big 12. We have 10th ranked Kansas State against 3rd ranked TCU being played at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. TCU dominating win over Iowa State last week. They looked very good. Kansas State had the big win over Kansas as well to be able to make it into this championship game over Texas. The question in this one as well is what happens if Kansas State wins? TCU would likely fall out of the top 4. Kansas State has 3 losses on the year. Even if they win this game, I don't see a way for them to bounce into the playoffs if they happen to pull off the upset. But once again, I don't think it's going to matter. TCU has just had a monumental season that they've looked good along the way. Sonny Dykes has them in a great place. I think the magical run's going to continue with a win in a Big 12 championship. 3rd ranked TCU over 10th ranked Kansas State in the Big 12 championship. So that is this week's picks. Lots of great conference championship. If you like chaos, root for those lower ranked teams this week. In the meantime, I want to thank everybody for following me along as we go through another college football year. It's been a lot of fun doing these picks. It's been a lot of fun going to the games this year. Go enjoy the conference championship game, and we will talk to all of you again in 2023.